Hey everybody, and welcome to my N5 series on the Akai MPC, where I cover a topic in about 5 minutes. LifePass 4 over on Gearspace says, can Korg Gadget, man, that's a tongue twister for me, can Korg Gadget be synced with the MPC Live 2? Would love to mix in and out. And the answer is absolutely yes. By default, they both have Bluetooth and they will both see each other as a Bluetooth MIDI device. I've talked about it like years ago how to do this. However, I wouldn't really suggest it just because Bluetooth can have latency. It can be delayed. It's not a consistent protocol. And if you have a lot of Bluetooth devices, it could just be flooding the airspace and not work well. My personal advice is if you're looking to sync your iPad music gear to something external, especially in the case of the MPC. Like the MPC is, when it boots up in standalone mode, it is a MIDI host, but it is not a MIDI device. So unlike something like the SP404 Mark II, which you can just plug in USB to USB between the iPad and the device, the MPC, if you want it to be able to be seen as a device that the iPad can use, you have to put it in controller mode, and then you're losing all of the benefit of having like the MPC. It just basically shows up as a class compliant audio and MIDI device, and you lose all the interface stuff until you go run the MPC software. So that said, I've talked about using this hyperdrive before, but this device here basically is a USB-C and it connects into the bottom down here on the iPad. It has the two most important features are a TRRS audio jack, which allows you to use headphones that have microphones in them or just plain headphones if you want. But for our purposes, we're just going to use this as our line output. And it's got this USB-A connection, which is going to allow us to connect a MIDI device to it. And I'll show you what I've got. It's got some SD cards, power, and HDMI, which for the purposes of this, we don't need. But basically, for this one that I've got, did I say hyperdrive? It's the model HD319B. I'll make sure I link it in the description if you're curious, along with the other stuff. Let me get this plugged in. It goes in a little tight, but from there to get audio as the next part of the problem, I have it's just a cable here, but I've gotten this noise isolator, because if you do end up using USB, you'll find that you frequently will pick up USB ground noise over your audio connections, which can be really annoying. So I am just going to put this in line, because I noticed when I did this before, I was getting some clicks and stuff. Annoying, but yeah, I would consider getting something like this if you're going to be doing a lot of connections. Otherwise, if you don't notice the noise, don't get it. But let's just plugging in the audio on the bottom here. And got it plugged into my mixer. And last but not least, to make this whole thing work, and I know it's a lot of cables, but I have the Roland USB MIDI interface UM1. And what this does is it basically allows us to take from the USB port here and get actual MIDI jack, like the 5-pin MIDI jacks for in and out. And the reason why we need this is because, as I said, the MPC is not going to otherwise work. You can use other devices, you can use other ones of these, but I just know that these work, so I've been telling people use these. So we're going to plug the MIDI in. You're going to notice immediately we now have power, and this will show us if we're getting MIDI input or output. So importantly, we want to make sure we're getting clock. So I hit the play button. We can see this light comes on, so we know that we're sending clock. I don't have any MIDI notes going. Now, let's get into all of the settings that you're going to want to have set on your MPC. You're going to need to go into Preferences, scroll down, or go to your MIDI sync, and then scroll down to where it says Output Ports. And I have a lot because I have a USB controller, but I got the Mio XL. But anyway, MIDI B, which is where I've plugged into the back here, is the two black MIDI jacks, is currently connected up over here through that Roland UM1, and I just want to make sure I have sync on. You can have track on or off if you want for this purpose. Basically, you want the track on if you want to be able to send MIDI notes from your MPC to Korg Gadget or anything else that's running on your iPad, but sync will get the job done. And if I hit play, as I said, you're going to see the note. Now, on the iPad here, let's bring it back down so because I know my head's in the way. If I hit play, we can hear it's playing audio. And I'll turn it up. Now, if I hit tempo, it says 128. And you'll notice over here on the MPC, it says 96. And if I hit play, it's not immediately doing anything to Korg Gadget. Even though we know it's sending MIDI clock, Korg Gadget isn't picking it up. Just move this down a tiny bit more. There's this gear icon up here. And if you go down, you're going to see it says MIDI sync int, ext, and auto. Int is internal, so it basically means it's going to use its own internal clock. If I send it to external, it is now stopped. It is waiting for an external clock and the transport controls from the MPC. So until I hit play over here, it's not going to do anything. So now you can hear, this is 96. This is now playing at 96 BPM. And I've got auto here as another one. Auto could be nice if you want to be able to switch between your internal clock and external. It's going to default to using whatever your external clock is. But if I hit play, you can hear it's at 128 right now. And if I hit play here, it's going to all of a sudden take over that tempo. So if you want that kind of a tempo change, you may want to set to auto. I usually tend to set it to whatever it is I actually want so I have full control and know what it's going to do. But that's up to you how you like it to work. Now, a couple other fun things we can do here is if I get record arm, I can get something going here. So now we have, sounds like the timing's a little bit off, but yeah, whatever. Had the speaker on. It's hopefully that's not annoying on the OBS recording. Anyway, we just recorded this and they're both in sync with each other. So even though my timing's off, but I can do things like I can speed up the tempo now, and these are going to stay in sync. And as I know let's see if I can slide it over. I've got this here. I've got my two tracks. I can now use this mixer to crossfade between whatever I want for tracks that are playing. So hopefully that answers your question, LifePass 4. And yeah, you can do it. Might need a little extra gear. As I said, I'm going to drop the links in the description for the Roland device, this hyperdrive, the hyperdrive down here on the bottom. And yeah, I'd say definitely it works great and a lot of fun. So anyway, thanks for the question. Everybody, thanks for stopping by. Keep making music, keep having fun. Remember, if it sounds good, it is good. And peace.